this concept of lucidity. You might have heard the word already, the word lucid, in terms of whether it be lucid dreaming or to have a lucid moment, right? Sort of synonymous with epiphany or breakthrough or revelation. But when we're talking about lucidity in general and in the human experience, it is an ongoing process, or at least it can be, instead of just one spark and then you're having a good time and then it goes away. This can be an ongoing experience. So, in the dream state, you achieve the lucid state, you achieve lucidity, you start lucid dreaming when you become aware of the dream while you're dreaming. So therefore, once you're there, once that's happening, you get really excited, you get into a mindset of, I can do anything, and you proceed to do basically the extent of what your imagination can come up with. And if this has ever happened to you, especially if it's happened to you multiple times, or you achieved it multiple times, or even just heard about it, you essentially get the picture that at first you're pretty much just fulfilling your primal desires first, which is essentially, the things that you feel stifled by in your current waking life, whether it be, I want to do some sexy stuff, or, like, I don't like gravity, so I'm gonna fly, or, I'm gonna imagine I have all this stuff, or I have this thing and it makes me go vroom vroom, stuff like that. But if we go into lucidity in waking life, we're essentially always, in every moment, at a crossroads experience. At every moment, at a crucial moment, right? The crucial moment, like, this is, the sink or swim moment. This is the decision point. This is the make or break. But it's every moment. Now, initially you may feel this feeling of, well, every moment is make or break, sink or swim. Like, that sounds not only intense, but sort of anxiety inducing, which is totally understandable at the start. But let's really get further into it so that we're making heads or tails of it. We're making leeway, headway, whatever the phrase is. Because if you really get right down to it, it really is true. Every moment is or make or break moment. Now, I've heard speakers, influencers, etc., but people who are really deep in the game, they've referenced this idea that if every point is a pivot point, well, each pivot brings you, let's just say, if there are divine plans to it all, there are, in a sense, infinite divine plans that change every time there's a different moment, every time there's a decision point, every time another move is made, every time another thought is acted upon. It's just like moment, idea, movement, and then shift. Okay, well, you've just changed your trajectory, for your entire life. Each moment, right? Each pivot point, each pivotal moment. So it's really interesting how you don't have to necessarily believe in any of that. You could treat it as a philosophical engagement. And speaking of engagements, the questions that we ask ourselves, the answers that we're seeking, and those can be isolated moments. It's not questioning to get an answer necessarily. It's not answering a question necessarily, because it can be questioning what's going on currently and letting the question essentially take you somewhere. And then for as far as the answers go, the answer can get you in a philosophical mode of what ifs, which I know are also questions, but answers, you can steep in answers. And as you will find, if you've been playing this game for long enough, that an answer eventually fails. An answer eventually ceases to satisfy a life, so that it becomes a little murky or a little, what's the word, diluted, if not completely becoming obsolete. So therefore, you get to this point where you're like, yeah, this is the answer, and you're chilling, you're partying, yeah, and then you get to a point where it's like, actually, this doesn't actually make any sense at all, right? And it could be in the span of hours where you're like, oh, right, you just have that sigh of relief. I finally have the answer, and then you're partying, you're having a good time, and then mere hours later, you're like, but wait, what if this, right? Like, it's like the potato that starts sprouting when you're not, actively utilizing it. It's like, wait, it's actually this, but it did come from the original answer, or the original question, or the original journey, the pathway, the original spark, right? These buds, these growths, these sprouts, these ferments from the original happening. So that type of stuff can happen all the time. And I know that was a sort of side path, but it's worthy of mentioning that these questions, these answers, these assumptions, these beliefs, these certainties can hold space for a little while, can keep you nuzzled, keep you swaddled for a little while, and it serves its purpose. But to recognize, to just know that it can hold you in comfort, but it's just by design, by natural universal design, it's not going to do that forever. And to be quite honest, it might not even do this, in the coming hours or coming days, etc. So just like, enjoy it for what it's worth, but don't get too comfortable, so to speak. So yeah, there's that. So back to lucidity. We need to realize, as far as I'm realizing that it's still recording, yep. We need to realize the realization in and of itself. Lucidity in every moment. Every moment being a decision point, a choice point, a make or break, a sink or swim, a pivotal moment. Pivotal, right? Every moment, imagine this node, this spherical node with rays in every direction, in a 3D sense. Maybe even in a 4D sense, a 5D sense. Whoa! But just use that analogy. Every moment you have the centrifugal force, right? Spherically, in all directions. So therefore, you're this walking pivotal moment of lucidity, and to bringing a smoothness, a naturalness, a calmness to this concept, as opposed to being like, oh my gosh, every moment's a pivotal moment, you know, I gotta make sure I make the right decisions. It's like, it's coming from a place of peaceful power, right? One of my many go-to inner phrases, inner mantras that I like to do and edit is this SSS, which is soft, slow, sacred. And you can treat things with sanctity even if you're an atheist, right? You can treat things with reverence even as an atheist, right? Where it's like this reverence, this sanctity of, wow, like all of these things are working on an atomic, on a molecular, on an organizational way, in a natural way. Nature in it of itself, how it communicates, how it's symbiotic, is absolutely amazing. Like, just ponder on that, just view that, just nature. Just view that, just ponder on that for just mere minutes. Like, hey, like, all of these things are, in a grand sense, in a universal sense, in a earthly sense, like, you know, like, minus the crazy human stuff, just like nature. It's like, wow, it's like all working out. It's like, it's so symbiotic, it's so cyclical in the sense of the seasons, you know, the life cycle, the hierarchies, the chains, the etc. That's etc. etc. It's just like, whoa, you know, like the nature sprouting things which create nourishment for other things, and that nourishment is consumed, and then that consumed nourishment is then brought out, but one being's waste product is another being's nutrients. That cycle in and of itself, it's like, whoa, right? It's like, oh, I can eat the apple nourishment for me. I create waste product, but the waste product is a form of fertilizer, and that helps other things grow, that helps other things get nourished. Right? One being's waste is another being's nourishment. Ain't it the truth? Tain't it the truth, right? But it's so true. So, I mean, that's its own just mind-blowing amazement right there. And you know what? This is a disclaimer. There you go. If you're still listening, like, this is a disclaimer. Like, and I'll probably, if I remember, I'll say this on different content where it's like, look, I'm gonna go off on tangents, but it all connects, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb, heyo. I'm gonna go out on different branches, but it all connects, and it's all to serve a purpose, right? So this is a form of nourishment right here. This is a form of lucidity in action, right? Spontaneity. Spontaneity is a actually great example of lucidity in flow, in progression, in en route, right? So there you go. I don't need to make this video go on too much longer, but I did want to just leave it with that, where lucidity in every moment, where it's like, I have the choice every moment. I have the power every moment. I have the engagement. I have this aliveness every moment, this lucidity, this spontaneity, this spark. As I keep sparking, as I keep expanding, as I keep going and growing every moment, this lucidity, this beacon of light. So, and us being light upon others, that's its own thing, which can be another video, which I'm sure I'll touch upon that later. But I've given enough things in this video for you guys to think about, feel about, envision about, do about. To give space about, right? All right.